guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be refinishing this valve cover and then painting it. Let's get started. Alright guys, so we're going to start off by masking up the valve cover to cover up any areas where we don't want to get paint stripper. Then we're going to apply paint stripper all over it to strip this finish off of this before we get it painted. Alright guys, the next step is to strip the finish on this, and we're going to be using this paint stripper here. It's not very good paint stripper. I used this on my SIR rims or SI rims before, and it didn't really do that great of a job. It took a long while for it to actually strip, but it's still whatever I have handy. So we're going to use this and try to strip this whole valve cover. Alright guys, I just finished applying the paint stripper on here. As you can see, it's already starting to strip the finish off. So I'm just going to cover it with a plastic wrap right now so that it could bake in there and just start stripping it a little bit more. And then we're going to just scrape all this stuff off and maybe do a few more stripping process if we have to. Alright, all wrapped up. So we're just going to wait like maybe a couple hours and see how well this strips it. Alright guys, if you look real close right now in here, it's a little bit hard to see because of the plastic wrap, but it is bubbling up pretty well. I'm going to give it probably a little bit more time for it to actually work in, and then we'll start scraping off as much of the paint as we can. So that looks like a lot better result than what I got from using it on my rims, but this still needs some work because, as you can see, this area over here is definitely still caked on there and baked on. So I'm still scraping off as much as I can, but it is all coming off pretty easily, I would say. Pretty surprised. All right, here's the progress. Second coat of the stripper has been put on, mostly for like these sides where it didn't come off. First coat actually took most of it off, so we're just gonna wait for another hour for this to actually break up the paint and all, and then another scraping session. All right guys, here it is. It's all completely stripped now. I've taken it upstairs and I just rinsed it off, rinsed all the paint stripper off. There's certain areas that still have a little bit of paint here, like between the D and A. I'm just gonna be going through with a wire brush and wire brushing any of the leftover black paint. There isn't much. Most of it's already all off, but it's almost ready to paint. So after I finish wire brushing it, I'm just going to scuff it up with a maroon Scotch-Brite pad, and then we're ready to paint this thing. Alright, so I've got all the loose paint off of this thing now. We're just going to use a maroon scuff pad and just scuff up all the whole valve cover, just so that there's a rough surface for the paint to adhere to afterwards. So that's what we're going to be doing. There you go. It's all scuffed up now. We're going to just take it back upstairs, do another quick wash, flush out any of the little particles. We don't want any of that in the valve cover. And then it should be ready to actually start painting. I'm probably going to wire brush around the Honda just so that we could get some scratches in there, so that that way it would adhere properly. I am going to mask off later and then just sand this down so that it gets a nice Honda motor coat. But yeah, we're going to just rough up the edges around there because this won't get in there. Alright guys, the valve cover is all cleaned up now. It's all dry. We're just going to do some masking. I've put a bolt here because this is going to be a ground point. I don't want to paint over that. You're going to have to sand it down later if you do. So I just put a bolt here, mask up the bolt so that it leaves this area bare. So what we're going to do is just paint it with the VHT Wrinkle red paint. So I'm just going to start off by masking everything. Well, actually, I'll give it a quick wipe down with some acetone first, just to clean off any remaining grease, and then we'll mask it all up, and then we can take it outside and start painting. Now it's ready to take outside and start painting, actually. Everything's all good. We'll do a one quick blow over and tack rag it, and then we should be good. Alright guys, here's the valve cover. I'm just going to be heat gunning it for a little bit more just to dry it out. Then I'm going to let it sit for about an hour and then I'm going to start unmasking it. But it's looking pretty good. Let me bring you guys up close to have a look at it. Alright, this is the wrinkle red. I think it came out pretty good. This area here had some fish eyeing. There's fish eyeing throughout the whole valve cover. And I cleaned it thoroughly with some wax and grease remover as well. It unfortunately it's just the way it is. I managed to cover up the fisheye. So you just do light coats over the fisheye as it dries, and then eventually it'll cover it. So this area is a little bit more wrinkled than the rest, but overall it's pretty good. There is one additional area. I dripped it around here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, right there. You can see it. There's the drip mark, but it's not a big deal. Not really noticeable. But that was the only mark that I dripped. Everywhere else, it was fine. It just ran right there. So kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I managed to use up all of that paint. All right, now it's time to start unwrapping some of this stuff. So we're gonna take off some of these things that I plugged. All right, so now that it's all unmasked, I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit. Then we're gonna toss this in the oven, bake it for about an hour at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it should be good. Oh, missed unwrapping this one here. That's a nice ground spot there. Alright guys, so the valve cover is now in the oven right now. It is baking for 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. Now if you guys are going to do this, make sure you don't tell your partner, or make sure you do it when they're not home, because this does stink up the oven quite a bit. Alright guys, freshly out of the oven, we're going to now get rid of this layer of paint on the Honda Motor Co. So I'm going to get some masking tape and I'm just going to mask around it so I don't end up messing it up or anything like that. So we're going to just basically mask around, and then we're going to use a razor blade, scrape off as much of the paint as we can on these letters. Then we're just going to sand it down with some 400 grit. That should be good enough. Now we're going to get a brand new fresh razor blade and just start scraping it. Alright, with that done, now we're going to just get a block and some 400 grit sandpaper and just sand down these letters. Alright, there we go guys. It's all nicely sanded down now. Let me show you guys real close. That looks pretty good. Now let's just unmask it carefully so that paint doesn't lift. Oh yeah. Now probably wipe it down a little bit because it is a little bit dusty from all that sanding. So we'll have to probably wipe it with some isopropyl alcohol or something just to clean it up so that it doesn't actually dig into the paint. Check it out, guys. That looks freaking awesome. All right, guys, we are done, and look at this thing. It looks amazing. I'm super happy with the result. There are some minor imperfections on it, but nobody can really tell but me. I really wish that it was wrinkle blue. Unfortunately, I couldn't find wrinkle blue here in Canada, so I opted for the red, which didn't cost me anything because I had half a can left from paying my D16Y8 valve cover. But look at this thing. It looks fantastic. Anyways, guys, I hope this video helps you guys out. If you haven't already, please comment, like, and subscribe, and share my videos. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.